What's happening with you? Now, if you know where that comes from, we come from the same tribe. We cut from the same cloth. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, aliens and earth people, civilians, pedestrians, and gang members. It's your boy, Wazam. I'm back at it. Day 2, we fucking with the artist way. I actually don't know how long this series is going to be. I just wanted to stream every day for the month of July. Exercise this muscle. And I'm back at it. Now, would y'all believe on TikTok, they telling motherfuckers to post 25 times a day? Who got time for that? I got something for the asses, though. So we back again today. We talking about the artist way. Shout out to everybody following on YouTube. Shout out to everybody following on Twitch, you dig? Sub up, sub up, sub up. We got to get out the trenches and the ghettos of freemium YouTube. Because I'm tired of seeing ads when I'm trying to stream. We going to hop right in because I don't have much time. Now, yesterday, we laid some really phenomenal groundwork. And the text we're covering is The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And what is The Artist Way? The Artist Way is a spiritual path to higher creativity. A spiritual path to higher creativity. I love this. I love contextualizing creativity. Contextualizing creativity with divinity. I love connecting our creativity to our divinity, or connecting creativity to the divine function that governs life, i.e. God, the creator, right? The artist. The artist has an opportunity to do what God does, essentially. Not in magnitude, but in flavor, if you will. I can create a reality for myself. I can create a day for myself. I can create a vibe. I can shape my environment. So today we're going to get deeper into spiritual electricity, the basic principles. Let's hop right in. For most of us, the idea that the creator encourages creativity is a radical thought. Is that a radical thought to you? We tend to think, or at least fear, that creative dreams are egotistical, something that God wouldn't approve of for us. This is facts. Some of us have a lot of shame behind our creativity and living our dreams. After all, our creative artist is an inner youngster and prone to childish thinking. Oh my God. Every line is a bar. How often do we hear grow up? And so much of adulthood, in my opinion, has been about killing the inner child and conforming to the ways of the world and allowing your dreams to die. If our mom or dad expressed doubt or disapproval for our creative dreams, we may project that same attitude onto a parental God. This thinking must be undone. That's deep. What we are talking about is an induced or invited spiritual experience. I refer to this process as spiritual chiropractic. We undertake certain spiritual exercises to achieve alignment with the creative energy of the universe. If you think of the universe as a vast electrical sea in which you are immersed and from which you are formed, opening to your creativity changes you from something bobbing in that sea to a more fully functioning, more conscious, more cooperative part of the ecosystem. As a teacher, I often sense the presence of something transcendent, a spiritual electricity, if you will. And I have come to rely on it in transcending my own limitations. I take the phrase inspired teacher to be a quite literal compliment. A higher hand than just my own engages us. Christ said, wherever two or more are gathered together, there I am in your midst. The God of creativity seems to feel the same way. The heart of creativity is an experience of the mystical union. The heart of the mystical union is an experience of creativity. Those who speak in spiritual terms routinely refer to God as the creator, but seldom see creator as the literal term for artist. I'm going to say that again. Those who speak in spiritual terms routinely refer to God as the creator, but seldom see creator as the literal term for artist. And we're all artists. I am suggesting you take the term creator quite literally. You are seeking to forge a creative alliance, artist to artist, with the great creator. Accepting this concept can greatly expand your creative possibilities. As you work with the tools in this book, as you understand the weekly task, many changes will be set in motion. Chief among these changes will be the triggering of synchronicity. We change and the universe furthers and expands that change. So it's never what's happening on the outside. It's always what's happening internally. The world is but a projection of what's happening internally to me. So if I want to change the world, I have to change myself. If I want to receive more love, I have to love myself more. If I want to be more liked, I have to like myself more. Ironically, when you do these things, the necessity for outward gratification evaporates. It evaporates and then those things come to you. Shit is deep, brother. It is my experience both as an artist and as a teacher that when we move out on faith into the act of creation, the universe is able to advance. It is a little like opening the gate at the top of the field irrigation system. Once we remove the blocks, the flow moves in. That's been a major message to me lately, removing the blockages. Removing the blockages. Again, I do not ask you to believe this. In order for this creative emergence to happen, you don't have to believe in God. I simply ask you to observe and note this process as it unfolds. In effect, you will be midwifing and witnessing your own creative progression. That's a ball. We all engaging in midwifery and husbandry when it comes to this creative process, you dig? Creativity is an experience. To my eyes, spiritual experience. It does not matter which way you think of it. Creativity leading to spirituality or spirituality leading to creativity. In fact, I don't even make a distinction between the two. In the face of such experience, the whole question of belief is rendered obsolete. As Carl Jung answered the question of belief late in his life, I don't believe, motherfucker, I know. I don't believe, I know. I know. I love that. The following spiritual principles are the bedrock on which creative recovery and discovery can be built. Read them enough. Read them through once a day and keep an inner ear cocked for any shifts in attitude or beliefs. So these are 10 basic principles coming from, These are 10 basic principles coming from the artist way, right? And these 10 basic principles are: creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. Number 2, there is an underlying indwelling creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. Number 3, when we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us and our lives. Number 4, we are ourselves creations, and we in turn are meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. Number 5, creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. That's ill. Number 6, the refusal to be creative is self-willed and is counter to our true nature. Number 7, when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to God, good orderly direction. Number 8, as we open our creative channel to the Creator, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. Number 9, it is safe to open ourselves up to greater and greater creativity. Number 10, our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity. Nigga, Ashe. It's big bars. And then I love in the book, she has like these little annotations on the side, right? It says, every blade of grass has its angel that bends over it and whispers, grow, grow. Great improvisers are like priests. Their activity is harnessing universality and making it flow through our eyes. Creativity is harnessing universality and making it flow through your eyes. And then she goes on to say, how do you use this book for your creative recovery? There are a number of ways to use this book. Most of all, I invite you to use it creatively. This section offers you a sort of roadmap through the process with some specific ideas about how to proceed. Some students have done the course solo. Others have formed circles to work through the book together. In the back of the book, you'll find guidelines about doing the working group. No matter which way you choose, the artist way will work for you. First, you may want to glance through the book to get a sense of the territory covered. Reading the book through is not the same as using it. We talked about this yesterday. Each chapter includes essays, exercises, tasks, and a weekly check-in. Don't be daunted by the amount of work it seems to entail. Much of the work is really play, and the course takes little more than 1 hour a day. Much of the work is really play, and it takes little more than. That's something important to remember. You have to make your work play. When I'm formally teaching, I suggest students set a weekly schedule. For example, if you're gonna work a Sunday to Sunday week, begin by reading the chapter of the week on Sunday night. After you've read the chapter, speed right through the exercise. The exercises in each week are critical. So are the morning pages and the artist date. You probably won't have time to complete all of the other tasks in any given week. Try to do about half. Know that the rest are there for use when you are able to get back to them. In choosing which half of the task to do, use 2 guidelines. Pick those that appeal to you and those you strongly resist. That's interesting. Gravitate toward things that you strongly want to do and then things you just hate to do. So anything that you feel lukewarm about, you shouldn't do. That's an interesting approach to life, though. Interesting. Leave the more neutral ones for later. Just remember in choosing that we often resist what we need the most. We often resist what we need the most. In all, make a time commitment of about 7 to 10 hours a week, an hour a day, or slightly more if you choose. This modest commitment to using the tool can yield tremendous results within the 12 weeks of this course. So this course is 12 weeks. Okay. The same tools used over a longer period can alter the trajectory of a lifetime. And I think that's important to remember. Sometimes we think about, damn, I got to do something for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I got to do something for 12 weeks. We have to think about these sprints, because, it's like when you're working on a project with a team, they call it sprints. You might do a sprint for a month, 2 months, 6 months. You got to think about sprints like they may be difficult to do. They may require a lot of discipline and focus, but you're going to do something for 12 weeks. You're going to do something for a couple of months that may impact the trajectory of your entire life. You may do something over the course of 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. You're like, damn, that's a lot. That's a big commitment. But that 12-week commitment could end up elevating and impacting the quality of the next 10 years of your life. So when you think about it from that perspective, is 12 weeks really a lot, or is that a small seed to plant to reap abundant fruit over the course of your lifetime? You know what I'm saying? That's how we got to think about it. You dig? It's like giving birth to a child. Something I'll never be able to do. But I know childbirth is painful. I know it's a lot of changes. A woman goes through for 9 months. It's painful. But then she has that child, and suddenly she has the child for the rest of her life. And, she forgets about the pain because of the beauty of what she gave birth to. So that's how we have to think about these little commitments, whether it be going to the gym, whether it be writing assignments, whether it should be going back to school and pursuing our education, whatever it is, you dig? Aight. And working with this book, remember that the artist way is a spiral path. You will circle through some of the issues over and over, each time at a different level. There is no such thing as being done with an autistic life. I made a post about this morning. There's no such thing as being absolutely healed. Healing is a process. Healing is a practice, right? And you just have to have disciplines and rituals and methods and mechanisms to kind of like bake this into your lifestyle. I love what she's saying, though. There's no such thing as being done with an autistic life. Frustration and rewards exist at all levels on the path. Our aim here is to find a trail, establish our footing, and begin to climb. The creative vistas that open will quickly excite you. What to expect? Many of us wish we were more creative. Many of us sense we are more creative, but unable to effectively tap that creativity. Our dreams elude us. Our lives feel somehow flat. Often we have great ideas, wonderful dreams, but are unable to actualize them for ourselves. Sometimes we have specific creative longings we would love to be able to fulfill. Learning to play the piano, painting, taking an acting class, or writing. Sometimes our goal is more diffuse. We hunger for what might be called creative living. I love this. As a creative person, are we creatively living? Or do we only experience creativity in a studio with an instrument or with a canvas? One of the goals I want to get out of this is not only enhancing my musical or my artistic creativity, but to allow my artistic creativity to permeate more areas of my life, my relationships, my perspective on life. You know, what happens in my home, the way I view myself. I'm in the process of creating a beautiful life. You know what I'm saying? And my life is my greatest masterpiece. We hunger for what might be called creative living, an expanded sense of creativity in our business lives and sharing with our children, our spouse, our friends. While there is no quick fix for instant pain-free creativity, creative recovery or discovery is a teachable, trackable spiritual process. Each of us is complex and highly individual, yet there are common recognizable denominators to the creative recovery process. Working with this process, I see a certain amount of defiance and giddiness in the first few weeks. The interest stage is followed closely by explosive anger in the course's midsection. The anger is followed by grief, then alternating waves of resistance and hope. The peak and valleys phase of growth become a series of expansions and contractions, a birthing process in which students experience intense elation and defensive skepticism. The choppy growth phase is followed by a strong urge to abandon the process and return to life as we know it. This resonates so much to me because I feel like whenever you make these huge commitments, it could be changing your diet, going to the gym. At some point in the process, you're going to be like, what is the point of this? What am I doing? I am wasting my time. I am not producing any progress. And you start hearing those familiar negative voices. The negative voices that are familiar. Those voices that feel like friends or family because they've been around us so long, but they're actually not helpful. And we need to fucking ask them to evacuate our mind. Why are you doing this? You know you're never really going to be anything different than you are. You're destined to be what you are. Why don't you stop this? Go home. Do what you always do. Waste time. Right? And then you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. So much of life is a psychology game you play with yourself. You got to be able to game yourself before you could effectively persuade anybody else. Right? In other words, a bargaining period, a negotiation. People are often tempted to abandon the course at this point. I call it a creative U-turn. Recommitment to the process next triggers the free fall of a major ego surrender. Following this, the final phase of the course is characterized by a new sense of self-marked by increased autonomy, resilience, expectancy, and excitement, as well as by the capacity to make and execute concrete creative plans. Lord knows that's something I need more of. The ability to execute, to make, and then execute creative plans. If this sounds like a lot of emotional tumult, it is. This seems more like therapy and healing than just necessarily a course on how to be a better artist. But again, in my approach, when I go to therapy, when I go to school, anything I do in life, I'm always approaching it as an artist, and I have that lens. And I often say to myself, more people should approach their life like a work of art. More people should approach their life as an artist. And this don't mean you got to go be a musician. Like, whatever you do in life, you could approach your life through artistry, and your life will be a more enhanced. It'll be more beautiful if you approach it as an artist with creative aesthetic, with creativity in mind. If this sounds, withdrawal is another way of saying detachment or non-attachment, which is emblematic of consistent work with any meditation practice. If this sounds like a lot of it is. When we engage in a creative recovery, we enter into a withdrawal process from life as we know it. Okay. Withdrawal is another way of saying detachment or non-attachment, which is emblematic of consistent work with any meditation practice. In movie terms, we slowly pull focus, lifting up and away from being embedded in our lives until we attain an overview. This overview empowers us to make valid creative choices. Think of it as a journey with difficult, varied, and fascinating terrain. You are moving to higher ground. The fruits of your withdrawal is what you need to understand as a positive process, both painful and exhilarating. Many of us find that we have squandered our own creative energies by investing disproportionately in the lives, hopes, dreams, and plans of others. I'm going to say that again. Many of us find that we have squandered our creative energies by investing disproportionately in the lives, hopes, dreams, and plans of others. Their lives have obscured and detoured our own. I feel like that's what social media is. That's what entertainment is. We're constantly invested in plots and subplots of people we never seen before, will probably never see again. And we do this from week to week, and it constantly takes us off the opportunity to be the main characters of our own lives. Right? As we consolidate a core through our withdrawal process. Okay, withdrawal. So as we make more time to live more creatively in our life, it requires us to withdraw from shit that doesn't really deserve our focus and energy anyway. This is very important. There's no way you could be worldly obsessed and just into drama, into gossip, and be focusing on creating the life of your dreams. They're at odds. Through our withdrawal process, we become more able to articulate our own boundaries, dreams, and authentic goals. Bango. Our personal flexibility increases while our malleability to the whims of others decreases. We experience a heightened sense of autonomy and possibility. So you gotta say fuck. You gotta say fuck folk. You gotta get in your bag. You dig? Create boundaries. Ordinarily, when we speak of withdrawal, we think of having a substance removed from us. We give up alcohol, drugs, sugar, fat, caffeine. It's useful to view creative withdrawal a little differently. We ourselves are the substance we withdraw to, not from, as we pull our overextended and misplaced creative energies back into our own core. We begin to excavate our buried dreams. This is a tricky process. Some of our dreams are very volatile, and the mere act of brushing them off sends an enormous surge of energy bolting through our denial system. Such grief, such loss, such pain. It is at this point in the recovery process that we make what Robert Bly calls a descent into ashes. We mourn the self we abandoned. We greet this self as we might greet a lover at the end of a long and a costly war. Wow. I've thought about it a lot, but creativity has many arcs, and in order to be a good creative, a good artist, you have to be willing to die and be reborn again. You have to go through many rebirths. You have to be willing to reimagine who you can be at different parts of the process, and be okay with letting go. To affect a creative recovery, we must undergo a time of mourning. In dealing with the suicide of the nice, ooh, she talking. In dealing with the suicide of the nice self we have been making do with, we find a certain amount of grief to be essential. Our tears prepare the ground for our future growth. Without this creative moistening, we may remain barren. We must follow the bolt of pain to strike us. Remember, this is useful pain. Lightning illuminates. How do you know if you are creatively blocked? Jealousy is an excellent clue. How do you know if you're creatively blocked? She says jealousy is an excellent clue. Are there artists whom you resent? Do you tell yourself, I could do that if only ... Do you tell yourself that if only you took your creative potential seriously, you might stop telling yourself it's too late? Stop waiting until you make enough money to do something you really love? Stop telling yourself it's just my ego whenever you yearn for a more creative life? Stop telling yourself that dreams don't matter, that they are only dreams, and that you should be more sensible? Stop fearing that your family and friends would think you're crazy. Stop telling yourself that creativity is a luxury and that you should be more grateful for what you got. Creativity is a luxury. We need to be more logical, more reasonable, right? As you learn to recognize and nurture and protect your inner artist, you have to nurture and protect your inner artist. You will be able to move beyond pain and creative constriction. You will learn ways to recognize and resolve fear, remove emotional scar tissue, and strengthen your confidence. Damaging old ideas about creativity will be explored and discarded. Working with this book, you will experience an intensive guided encounter with your own creativity, your private villains, champions, wishes, fears, dreams, hopes, and triumphs. The experience will make you excited, depressed, angry, afraid, joyous, hopeful, and ultimately more free. Dog, this sounds like fucking therapy. This sounds like therapy, but a modality of therapy that makes a lot of sense. And I don't want to denigrate other forms of therapy, because I think you get something different from different modalities of therapy. But I think you also have to know yourself, and you have to know what will really resonate and what will really cut through. And again, as someone who, when I was, the reason I started making music was because I couldn't afford therapy. The reason I started making music was, at the time, I didn't even believe in therapy. Right? I was a child at a time when the word mental health didn't even exist. It wasn't even in popular use. Like, niggas wasn't just walking around talking about, like, how's your mental health, or have you gone to therapy? Like, it was a very taboo thing. So the way I dealt with my mental health, the way I was able to reconstruct and rebuild myself, the way I was able to, like, heal, was through music, through art. So the fact that Julia Cameron is using art really as a modality of healing, because that's what she's talking about. It's really a modality of healing. This resonates with me so deeply. And the fact that she's kind of like formatted it into a curriculum, I'm really excited about this. You dig? And I didn't expect that this would straight up feel like therapy with all of these, arcs to it, but some of the exercises she's describing, and just the emotions you go through, it reminds me of going through therapy. But I love this because it's therapy in another way, and she has activities that are not just about writing, but it's about creating. And that's something I felt like was missing from therapy when I was in. I was like, I'm doing a lot of writing, but it's bringing emotions and feelings to the surface that I don't have anything to do with now. Like, I'm angry at motherfuckers. I want to fight people. I'm angry with my mama. Like, it's certain people in my past who I just won't go see about. And so I channeled that through working out. I started working out a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I love that there are exercises in here as emotions come to the surface. Now we're going to approach it and alchemize it creatively. right? Because a lot of the best art comes from us confronting ourselves and working through that process. You know what I'm saying? Working through that process. Like, that's how I started playing music. That's literally how I started playing music, out of necessity to save myself, because nobody was saving me. Like, creativity, playing motherfucking saxophone was like, I've been a spiritual person my whole life, but there was something different about playing music where I felt like I had a one-to-one connection with God. It felt like true salvation. It felt like true healing. Like, playing music is one of the first and only times in my life I felt free. Like, truly free. Like, truly free. And a kind of freedom that nobody can take away from me. Like, regardless of what's happening in society, regardless of what my financial situation is, emotional situation is, when I can express myself creatively, I feel free. Maya Angelou once said, there is no burden like a story untold. And I think about that a lot with our ancestors, because, I mean, you already know they were in some fucking wild scenarios and situations, you dig? And at every turn of the way, they relied on God, culture, and maybe they didn't think about it this way, but art, the song, the spirituals, expression, finding ways to tell a story creatively, right? So for our people, we weren't engaged in art for art's sake, you know, to be sophisticated, to be elegant. We were engaging in art as a means of survival. Telling our stories in all of these different ways was a means of self-survival, and it was a means to continue to cultivate our relationship to the divine. And in essence, it kept us divine, because the more you cultivate your creativity from a pure place, the more you cultivate your own divinity, the more you're able to purge, the more you're able to strengthen your relationship with God and your ancestors. On that note, y'all, I'm going to wrap this up. You heard me? I pray you all have a great day, and shit, I'll be back tomorrow. This has been day 2 of The Artist Way. Later.